The following podcast series was recorded between January and December of 2015. Originally hosted on the Horrorphilia Podcast Network, it has now transitioned to the Podcast Under the Stairs Collective. Myself and Andy Blockley would like to extend our gratitude once again to Jason Lloyd at the Horrorphilia Podcast Network for giving this podcast an opportunity to stay on that network for a couple of years and accumulate hundreds of downloads and great communication with legions of fans. The next instalment of the Doing the Nasty podcast, looking at the DPP third tier movie list, will start January 2020. Duncan McLeish will be joined by Mark Ball, who will be replacing Andy Blockley on this podcast, and will release one episode each month covering 2 films from the Tier 3 DPP Video Nasty list. But until that season drops, please enjoy these archives.
Nasty.
They were called Nasties, and they were nasty.
Some of the things that we've seen are so horrific.
These films not only affect young people, but I believe they affect adults as well.
An extravaganza of gory violence capable of depraving and corrupting those who watched it.
I have never seen a video nasty. I wouldn't. I actually don't need to see what I know is in that film.
And welcome back to another episode of Doing the Nasty podcast. This is episode number 13. I am one of your hosts, Duncan McLeish from the podcast Under the Stairs. As always, I'm joined by my co-host with the most, the man behind one half of the big horror and little podcast. It's of course Mr. Andy Blockley. How are you doing, sir?
Good, thanks, mate. I'm looking forward to slagging off Mary Whitehouse in this episode and getting the prosecuted list wrapped up.
Yeah, this is for those that haven't been keeping count. I don't know how you haven't been keeping count with a small scorecard, marking them off. Episode 13 basically closes out our look at the prosecuted list of films on the nasty list. It has been a wild ride. We have witnessed some truly gorgeous pieces of cinema. We've also witnessed some abominations and crimes against cinema, one of which we'll be talking about tonight. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool that, you know, we've managed to, one, get through the list fairly quick. I mean, you know, I think that's the thing about the shows, doing the format we're doing, we're firing through them really quick. But also, like Andy said, as this run into the film reviews, we're also going to talk about someone that has featured quite heavily in terms of passing comments. Mary Whitehouse, the woman that you heard at the beginning clip saying, you know, I've never seen a nasty, I don't need to, you know. Basically, she was one of the founding foundations of the movement against these videos, and basically got them banned. So Andy is going to fill us in with some more details about that. What films are we covering in this episode, Andy?
Right, we've got Tenebrae, the Werewolf and the Yeti, and Zombie Flesh Eaters. So it's a bit of a shit sandwich where the bread's made of gold. So
we said before as well, the cool thing about it is that like we're dealing with what you have said is your favourite Fulci movie, and what I've said is my favourite Argento movie. So there's going to be a lot of passion at the start and end of this podcast, and a lot of head scratching and bemusement at the middle. I don't really know. Hopefully you have some further information after watching the Werewolf and the Yeti. I don't really know why anyone would panic because it's shite. But you have been on holiday since I last spoke to you. You went away for as the Americans call it, a vacation.
Yep, vacation to Spain.
Was it nice?
It was great. The weather was about 30 degrees Celsius every day.
Oh, Jesus.
Which I know you don't like, do you?
No.
That's not your thing, not your cup of tea. But it's mine. I was loving it. It was great. It's only 2 hours away as well on a plane from the airport, which is only about another half an hour from my house. So within like 3 hours, I'm in 30-degree heat, which is awesome. yeah, and it was great, just like hanging out on the beach and stuff. Didn't get shot on the beach, luckily.
Oh, fine. Oh, yeah. That's
Kicking off in Tunisia.
It's always a good thing when you can come back and say the sentence. You know, when someone asks you how your holiday was, you can say, "Oh, the weather was nice. Didn't get shot on the beach."
Didn't get brilliant. Didn't get mowed down by a lunatic. So it was good.
And the irony of the situation is you're talking about the heat, etc., and stuff like that to do with Spain. I'm going to Spain for the first time in it'll be about 21 years.
I found out that you were going to Spain quite soon after we had a conversation about your dislike for anything hotter than about 5 degrees.
Yeah, I'm kind of
worried.
worried.
It did make me smile. Like you do realise it's going to be hot, Duncan.
Yeah, well, my wife picked it. Ultimately, I gave her final say. We had 3 destination choices. We could either go back to Paris, which I was kind of rooting for. We could do Rome, which I was quite interested just because of the kind of architecture, museums and stuff like that, because I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to that sort of stuff.
I'd be interested. I'd be well up for that. Looking around the Colosseum.
Yeah, and obviously to spit on the Pope, because...
of course.
When in Rome.
Love that.
I just want to stress, I wouldn't spit on the Pope, unless he wanted to. I'm that sort of guy. I like to please people.
Spit at him, if it hits him.
Spit at him, not on him. Oh, this podcast is taking a turn. The last one was Barcelona, which I've been to several places in Spain when I was younger, never been to Barcelona. It's one of these places I've always wanted to go to, though, because, once again, architecture, museums, fantastic over there. Really looking forward to that. But my wife booked it for August, and we went online and did a wee bit of research, and apparently the average temperatures are between 30 and 35 in August.
Even hotter.
I've come to the conclusion that my wife is trying to kill me, Andy. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Right, well, you're going to have to change your wardrobe. You can't wear anything black, because that's just going to absorb the heat.
All my stuff's black.
You're fucked then, aren't you? Right. Are you one of these people that, like, on holiday, you don't, like, you know when you see people that haven't rubbed in their sun cream, it's just sitting on the surface of their skin? Are you one of them?
Just walking around.
Tends to be Scottish people that just sit there covered in white cream.
Well, most Scottish people are ginger, according to stereotypes, and gingers burn quick. I am not a ginger. I actually tan really well, which is...
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I tan, like, super well, so this is, like, such a weird conversation. I like brown really quickly. I don't really burn, which is why I kind of feel like I'm God's cruel joke, in that I can take a tan really well, but I hate the sun. So I'm looking forward to going. I know that all the buildings have really good air conditioning and stuff like that, but where I would usually get up first thing on a holiday, like maybe like 7 a.m, get myself all ready and be out like at the break of day to go out and check out kind of historical buildings and all the rest. I think that's probably definitely going to have to be the case this time. I'm going to have to go really early or later on. I don't think I'm going to be able to do much, midday to like 4 o'clock or something, because I'll melt into a puddle.
You might get used to it. You'll acclimatise, and then you just before you come home, you'll
come back to miserable Scottish weather.
Yeah. Do you put factor 50 on your tattoos?
I'll be putting factor 50 on everywhere.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so I had this thing right where I was having to put factor 50 on my tattoos, obviously because I don't want them to fade, but factor 15 everywhere else, and it's fucking tedious having to apply it twice. And like it was like I was colouring in, keeping within the lines of the tattoo.
Oh my god, you're like that. We're getting ready to go out. Right, I need half an hour here.
Honestly,
to my sunscreen, and then I can go out.
Yeah, it literally like took about 20 minutes to cream up, because it's got different factors on tattoos, different factors for shoulder and faces.
I see. This is why I purposely put places with no sun at all, so I need to worry about that. But it'll be interesting. You'll hear about it when I come back. I'll be a moany bastard. But yeah, So, but you had fun anyway. You were relaxed, settled in. You've come back. To finish off the prosecuted list, and I mean, I'm kind of I have a bit of a tear in the eye and a lump in the throat about this one, because I know that none of the titles after this mark are going to have the same level of controversy, and that's not to say they're not going to be as good.
change the rating system? Because I mean, still keep it like slap on the wrist and all that, but to say should it be on the list?
Yeah.
Technically, it's not really the same list, is it?
It's on an extended list. So yeah, I think where we go moving on to that one is we remove the second rating and we just keep the first rating, and we could maybe argue the case of whether we think maybe not on should it been on the list. Maybe we should argue should it have been on the list.
Yeah.
So, like, kind of almost reverse that, in that instead of weighing up the merit of it actually being on that prosecuted list, we weigh up the merit of, well, did this... Because I know for a fact that certain titles straight away on the non-prosecuted list are stronger, more graphic, gory titles than some of the ones we've seen.
Yeah, the first one, for a start. The very first movie we're going to do, The Beyond.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's a lot more graphic. So yeah, I think that's what we do, and we will be kicking that off in 2 weeks' time. Like Andy said, and the first episode has the Beyond on it, which is just it makes me happy. It makes me so happy. So you were saying at the start, and obviously I reiterated it, that one of the key figures, if we had playing cards. Or trump cards, which had certain individuals that were involved with the Video Nasties movement. Probably the most archetypal figure of kind of puritanical nonsense was Mary Whitehouse. She was the one that really kind of sunk her teeth in and campaigned heavily, got her friends in the Conservative government at the time to kind of raise up the priorities in that decade. So you have done a bit of research into her.
I have.
And I will sit back and I will let you educate our listeners as to how much of a cunt bag this woman actually was.
Oh, she's a total cunt. Mary Whitehouse kind of called herself a social activist, began her activism in 1963 with a letter to the BBC because she was dissatisfied with what she saw on the television. She also set up campaigns against a permissive society in the early 70s, objected to a UK edition of something called the Little Red School Book, which is like a manual of children's rights on sex, drugs, attitudes to adults, which was actually successfully prosecuted for obscenity in July 1971. White House thought it had done incalculable damage and was a revolutionary primer, in which open rebellion against the system towards schools, parents and authority in general was openly advocated, and children were constantly exhorted to collect evidence against teachers of alleged injustices. So obviously anything against the system was what Mary Whitehouse didn't like. She had to clean up the TV petition using the manifesto, gained 500,000 signatures. So she had quite a lot of backers, because people were agreeing with her. Again, it goes back. She was obviously highly religious, so kind of, which is one of them weird things where Christian people are supposedly really loving and accepting and tolerant. And the irony is, some of the kind of people that are the most kind of Christian are completely intolerant, bigoted, don't like any of this kind of thing. And she was kind of one of these people, but. The other things that she had a problem with, she didn't like Benny Hill. She was criticising his dances. Anyone that kind of in British will know Benny Hill. It's just kind of a laughable. How would you describe Benny Hill?
It was kind of. It was a kind of tongue-in-cheek humour, generally based around the kind of the stiff upper lip British sensibility towards sex. So people will know the song, and basically there would always be this clip where Benny Hill would be surrounded by very attractive women who generally would lose an item of clothing, and then there would be an extended sped up sequence of him chasing the women chasing him. It was all very Scooby-Doo in parts. They would run in one door, come out another door, but it was seen at the time as being kind of overtly sexual, which when you think about it by today's standards, Jesus Christ. So that's what Benny Hill did.
So she had a massive problem with him. She didn't like war coverage on the telly. Apparently there was repeated coverage of the liberation of the Belsen concentration camp. She complained about this being filth be allowed on air, as it was bound to shock and offend. It's like, well, yeah, it's a concentration camp. Of course, it's going to shock and offend people, but you can't remove it and pretend it never happened, can you, Mary? Okay, Doctor Who, she had a massive problem with that. The series met with her heaviest disapproval between 1975 and 1977. She had a huge problem with Doctor Who, saying that it was teaching children to make Molotov cocktails. The producer kindly pointed out to her that it wasn't meant to be for children, Doctor Who.
It wasn't. And how those times have changed. It's now it's now like a family programme, but at the time it was very much aimed at adults.
Yeah, exactly. But she seemed to think it was for kids, so she's just a moron. Chuck Berry's novelty song "My Ding-a-Ling." I don't know if that went to America. It probably didn't. But that was one of several pop songs to receive her disapproval. She was unsuccessful in trying to persuade the BBC to ban that one, but her campaign to stop Alice Cooper's Schools Out being featured on Top of the Pops was successful, which then resulted in that song going straight to number 1. So Cooper sent her a bunch of flowers saying, "Cheers. That's the best publicity I could have possibly had. Thank you." So, in your face, Mary. She criticised the ITV adventure drama series Robin of Sherwood, which was like a Robin Hood kind of TV series between 84 and 86. Didn't like that. Her fear of homosexuals was quite visceral, according to one commentator. He describes the belief that she reveals in her book, Whatever Happened to Sex. Homosexuality was caused by abnormal parental sex during pregnancy or just after. So apparently, if just after you impregnate your missus, if you start doing weird kinky shit, your kid turns out gay, according to Mary.
Start lighting black candles, painting pentagrams, that sort of stuff.
That's it, and the kid turns gay within the womb. Being gay was like having acne, apparently. Psychiatric literature proves that 60% of homosexuals who go for treatment get completely cured, according to Mary. Then Thatcher came in the 80s. Margaret Thatcher was like kind of one of our most famous prime ministers, being
and
the
a personal friend of Mary Whitehouse, actually.
Personal friend of Mary Whitehouse. They became allies in this because Thatcher was also a bit of a cunt. Whitehouse met Thatcher on at least 2 occasions to discuss the possibility of banning sex toys in the UK. Apparently this was an extension on the depraved and corrupt kind of thing that the Video Nasties was in the Obscene Publications Act. So she wanted to ban dildos as well. So
has she no heart?
What is wrong with Mary Whitehouse? She was appointed as CBE in 1980, and then in 1988 suffered a spinal injury in a fall, which severely curbed her campaigning activities. Yes. And then she died at age 91 in a nursing home in Colchester, Essex, on the 23rd of November 2001. Now, the academic Richard Hogarth observed that her main focus was on sex, bad language, and violence in that order.
Yeah.
So, her main issue was sex. She had a bigger issue with, she had a lesser issue with the language, and violence was not as important. So, yeah, it's a weird one. Her main problem was with like sex and nudity. Mm-hmm. Which is, and obviously the violence in the Video Nasties and things. And she just thought the Video Nasties were the reason that society was becoming corrupt and kind of going downhill. Now, I'd argue that people like Mary Whitehouse are the reason that society and that is going downhill. I mean, it's hard to put your finger on exactly what it is. Why, even if you do deem society as kind of going downhill, I mean, I'd say society is kind of, I don't know if it's getting worse. It's getting stranger for me.
I think it's because you're getting older. I think that's what it is. I think
that's what it is.
I think society's always been fairly reprehensible. I think when you get older, though, I think it becomes more apparent the generational shifts that people go through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it depends, I suppose, what you think is it, what is your idea of it getting worse? I mean, for me, when I see these fucking ridiculous reality TV shows and things, I see like young people completely worshipping false idols and dress in a certain way, like trying to conform, basically like clones.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But I don't think that society kind of getting worse. I just think I don't know, that's just people being under more control, isn't it? Being more.
I think it's fads, to be honest with you. I think what happens is
Always
like
been there, haven't they?
yeah. I think what happens is even with dress in particular ways or whatever, that has always been there. You know what I mean? You can go back to like mod culture, punk culture, early metal culture. I mean, they've always existed. I think that the big thing nowadays where people may perceive that things are getting worse is that things like social network have made the world a smaller place. I mean, in the past, you know, what was big in America one year would maybe take about 2 or 3 years to be big in the UK, and vice versa. That is not necessarily the case anymore. You can have a viral hit video of Miley Cyrus twerking, you know what I mean? And then next week everyone's twerking. You know, it's been seen by millions of people all over the world in the space of a day. And I think that's maybe what it is. I think the world's a smaller place, so these kind of cultural shifts happen quicker than they did before. There's no longer this kind of grassroots movement to build up something. It just happens. And I think one thing that we could say about Mary Whitehouse as maybe the only positive I can think of her as an individual is that she had her beliefs and she campaigned in a very old-fashioned way campaigning, which was you go out and you speak to people about it. Now, whether or not you're fully informed, which she wasn't because she'd never watched any of them, is by the by. But she engaged. She wasn't scared of engaging people in conversation or debate, which is an inherently British thing, which I think is pretty. I mean, that still happens even today. There is a reason that when, like, if you see how American politicians campaign for things, it's huge rallies, etc. Politicians in the UK, yes, still do those huge rallies, but they still go door to door and chat and speak to your average punter, which would never happen in the States. But they do that because there is that idea of, we're a smaller country for a start, but there is that kind of idea about a grassroots movement. You drum support from the people at the bottom, and some parties are better at doing than others. I think she kind of had that ability to. She was very well spoken. She was very well educated. Her message was just wrong. She perceived a link between, you know, sex or violence on television with corrupting people, where even back then I think scientists or psychologists would have acknowledged that's not how it works. You are a product of your upbringing, your parents' beliefs, your parents' attitudes, where you live demographically, socially and economically. These things shape who you are, not what you watch on the telly, not the films you watch and the music you listen to. They may affect your style, but they don't affect your personality. Your personality is from something else. And I think that's where, even if that had been proved to her, she would not have agreed with you. She would have still argued this point that these videos corrupted a nation, which was nonsense. It was absolutely fucking nonsense.
That's bullshit. I mean, the reason society and crime and things are being committed, in my opinion, is the way the government are running the country.
Yeah.
Massive economic disparity between rich and poor, that kind of thing. You know, people feel that they are being treated completely unfairly, and that's why people go out and steal. You know, that's why people go out and commit crimes, because they're fucking angry. It's nothing to do with the films that they've watched, or, you know, if anything, listening to music is going to soothe you and calm you down. Watching a film is going to take your mind off the fact that you're really fucking upset. You know, it's like the war on drugs and things. Now, most people, like, drugs for people aren't the problem. Life is the fucking problem, and drugs is the solution.
Mechanism. Yeah, it's an escape mechanism. That's why movies and music are classed as entertainment. They're an outlet for you to forget about your issues. I think, it keeps coming back to this. It always comes back to this, and I think it always has come back to this. For anyone to sit there and say, you know, that perversion on, you know, like people watching pornography or people watching violence on TV affects society. I mean, the history books are full of. I mean, how many horror films did Hitler watch? Zero. I mean, look what he did.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I mean, go back to ancient Rome where there was fucking orgies happening in amphitheatres. Violence is a spectator sport.
You weren't copying that from you, porn, were they?
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's always been there. It always will be there. I think people, like I say, when people start to get older, I think they start to notice it more. I think when you're younger, you just you're not completely oblivious, but you just have a tendency to adapt better. I think when you get older, that starts to erode slightly, and you become a bit more, not set in your ways, but you have a specific outlook on the world, which has been built up over several decades of living in that world. And I think when you start to see things gain traction in a direction which is different from yours, it's very easy to jump to that conclusion that the world's going mad. And it isn't really. I mean, there are things that have me like you were talking about reality television. I don't get it. I do not like. The only way is Essex. Fucking.
Well, do you know what? Right, it's like it is entertaining. Okay, some of these things, but what it does, it taps into almost your lowest fucking. Like the worst parts of human nature, the worst parts of within you. That's what it stimulates. You know, like when
it doesn't focus on the guys doing good things or the women doing good things. Like, it focuses on them being manipulative, drinking to excess, cheating on people. It focuses on all the negative aspects because they are the more entertaining thing. People won't tune in and watch a reality TV show where people are being nice to each other. They'll only watch it when people are bitching about each other, and it's the worst parts of society that gets put on a TV screen, and I don't understand. I know people find it entertaining, but I don't get it.
It's like when you watch Jeremy Kyle, you know, like the purpose of that show, you're basically watching two incredibly, they're usually very low educated people that are on benefits, kind of what people would consider like almost kind of scumbags of society, arguing over who's had sex with who's the dad of their kid, who's stolen from who. Like, it's a weird thing when you break it down that you're sitting and watching that happen in front of you, just two people that you've never met having a row. It's like facilitated by some twat in front of a studio audience. It's fucking weird. Like, I watched the thing last night though. I just like kind of skimmed past it while I was looking for something else. It was what was it? It was people that used to have money and are now on benefits. Mm-hmm. I thought, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What? I don't understand. I mean, like I said, I don't really watch TV. I can't remember what it was I was trying to find last night. But like when you get your program guide up, and like one of them was an ex-Big Brother star who had apparently had loads of money when she finished Big Brother, and now she's on benefits. And it was just like following her around, looking at the state of her house. I thought, I don't get this.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of this? It's fucking weird. Yeah, it's so strange. And like, I think just going back to like what we're saying about kind of Mary Whitehouse and what she was saying, like banning things doesn't work, and people don't seem to get their head around this. You know, telling kids just to say no to drugs doesn't work. You've got to explain to children, educate people as to what drugs are. Just saying no just makes you want to look. It just makes you want to take them and see what's going to happen. Banning a movie just makes people want to go out and see the movie. It's weird, like this weird educational thing where people don't want to talk about stuff. They just want to sweep it under the carpet and pretend it never happened. Like Mary Whitehouse, don't show footage of war on telly. Why? What, are we supposed to just pretend it's not going on?
Yeah. If you show footage of war to people and explain to them what the outcomes of war are, it's less likely to happen.
Yeah, maybe there would be fucking ridiculous wars like there are now that are blatantly just for profit, to secure footholds in countries that have got oil. If people knew the proper consequences of war, but it's not. It's almost broadcast. Like, I remember when Thatcher obviously decided to go to war in the Falklands. It was like the World Cup was on. Mm-hmm. It was fucking mental in England. Like, it was literally like Britain 1, RG0. It's not a football game. You just murdered hundreds of people. Yeah. But there literally was like people. Like the Belgrano is a perfect example. It was a ship full of Argentinian soldiers that retreated, and Thatcher put the order through to fucking blow it out of the water as they were retreating, and then did like an air punch, like a favourite team had just scored a goal, and it's like you've just murdered like about 100 teenagers and young men, you fucking psycho.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird, just like trying to pretend these things don't happen, and yeah, fucking strange. So that's Mary Whitehouse anyway, and that's the kind of the reason we're talking about her rather than playing clips is because she doesn't really feature that heavily on that episode, because although she was heavily involved in the whole Video Nasties thing, she'd never seen them, so there was nothing to really talk about, because it's not like she could sit and dissect what it is she didn't like about these films. She went on telly and said, I've never seen one and I don't need to, and that was kind of the only real footage of her. Like you say, she was just out chatting to people, knocking doors and things. She wasn't actually really doing many TV interviews and stuff at the time. It was all kind of, just behind closed doors and making waves in the newspapers and things. So yeah, that's why we've not really got any footage of Mary other than kind of in our opening little gambit. Yeah, but that's the lowdown.
It's the best soundbite ever, though, isn't it? It's really the best soundbite ever. Because
it kind of just sums up the whole ludicrous thing that nobody really watched them, and like I think with last week's episode, 2 weeks ago, the thing they played in the House of Commons, it wasn't the movies in their entirety. Someone had basically gone and found the worst bits of all the movies and made a compilation, like the kind of things that you see on YouTube when you can find like best head explosion comment. It's one of them. And that's what everybody saw in the House of Commons. So it was completely out of context, and it was just 30 minutes of brutal violence. Because you get it at the beginning of the Video Nasties documentary. Yeah. It literally shows you the worst bits of all 72 films in a massive long clip. It's brilliant. And that's what they saw. So yeah, it sums it up perfectly that nobody really watched these movies. They just saw some of the worst bits and condemned them from there. And that's kind of where we left.
And so we're finishing off the 39 on the original prosecuted list on this show. And some absolute corkers as well. I can't stress that enough. We're going to be talking about movies which both myself and yourself... I mean, today I watched Zombie Flesh Eaters for the first time in... over a decade, I think, since I saw that movie. And this is the first time I've ever seen it on Blu-ray. And
it's great.
It's fucking gorgeous on Blu-ray. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Tenebrae, which is a movie I know inside out. We're going to be talking about The Werewolf and the Yeti, which is a movie I didn't know existed until we looked at the list.
And I wish it didn't.
I really wish it didn't exist. I really, really wish it didn't exist. So, Andy, do you think we should take a break and then you come back strong?
I will climb down off my political high horse, ready to talk about Tenebrae.
Right, so we're going to take a short break. You're going to hear a promo for Johnny Krug, because we love Johnny Krug. You're also going to hear some learned gentlemen and ladies discuss why Tenebrae was on the list.
And then you'll hear me.
You're going to hear Andy then explain what we thought about that movie and did it deserve to be on this list right after this.
Do you like movie reviews that are insightful, thought-provoking, and delivered by somebody who's trained to critically dissect every aspect of a motion picture without ever having to use obscenities?
Then you've got the wrong show. Kruger Nation Horror Podcast is ready to feed your slasher movie and exploitation needs. There'll be more blood, expletives, and titties than you can shake your grandma's beetle flaps at. Visit www.KrugerNation.com. Oh, good God, a butthole casserole!
This is one of those famous cases where the DPP pounced on a film after it had got a BBFC certificate. So really, it was on very shaky ground. And the main reason why they didn't like it was for this scene of the axe dismemberment. The reason why this film is now quite infamous, not just in England, where it was a video nasty, but in Italy, is because the girl in that photograph is Veronica Lario. And of course she became Mrs. Silvio Berlusconi, the Prime Minister of Italy's wife. For years he actually stopped this movie going on Italian television. And all the scandals that you're hearing about now is all due to her.
Filthy, slimy
And welcome back. Okay, so after a bit of a long intro there, we've got the first of our 3 movies, Tenebrae, from Italian film from 1982 by Dario Argento. This is a kind of a return to giallo after doing a few supernatural movies. I think this is the last giallo movie he did. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, he continued doing giallos right throughout his career. I think this is the return to form. A lot of people would argue this is the last great Argento giallo.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people are quite dismissive about what comes afterwards. I think he has some crackers after this. I obviously have said before, this is my favourite. I don't think he ever, in the giallo genre anyway, I don't think ever really tops what he does in Tenebrae. So.
Okay, so it was released June 83, added to the list in March 84, so didn't really get too long before it was pulled. Basically follows a guy, Peter Neal, an American writer of violent horror novels, whose books are tremendously popular in Europe. He's going to Italy to promote his latest work. This man has got balls of steel because he's cycling down the motorway on a fucking push bike. Are you mental? What are you doing, mate?
He's cycling over. It's over the Brooklyn Bridge as well, if memory serves.
Jesus.
Which is featured in our final film as well, the Brooklyn Bridge.
It is actually, yeah. It's a really good shot. But yeah, I thought, fucking hell, that's brave. That is brave, sir.
I thought it was more brave wearing that tracksuit.
As well, yeah. I'd have knocked him off just for wearing the tracksuit.
He's powdered blue baby blue tracksuit.
Yeah, nice, mate, nice. So, accompanied by his literary agent and his assistant, he's kind of unaware that he's being followed by his embittered wife. And then he arrives in Rome, and women start to be murdered by a gloved killer, which is obviously kind of one of the tropes of the giallo movies. The murderer sends him a letter kind of informing him that his books have inspired him to go on a killing spree. And then the police get involved and so on. Now, this is kind of a visually stunning movie. So obviously I'm not a massive fan of Argento, which is obviously why I thought this is his last giallo movie in years.
We'll work on you, Andy. We'll work on. There's plenty of time.
I know you're saying are you going to educate me throughout this thing. Deep Red's Argento, isn't it?
Yeah, Deep Red was the previous giallo movie that he did, and then he did Suspiria, Inferno, which were both supernatural, and then he came back to Tenebrae.
So you know how I feel about Suspiria. I'm not a fan.
You make it just that's a blasé comment as if you're like, I'm just not a fan. You don't like that movie. You hate that movie.
Yeah, I tried to watch it about 3 times and just got sick of it and turned it off. I forced myself to sit all the way through it. I don't get it. You've told me I'm going to hate Inferno as well.
Yeah, I think the thing about Suspiria and Inferno is they tap into almost like the movies are very dreamlike. Both movies are really dreamlike. They play on this idea of nothing really makes sense. Like in Suspiria, nothing. It is like having a nightmare. Nothing makes sense. There's nothing tangible. There's no sense to the sequences that happen. People die in ways which are so fucking left of field and jarring that if you thought like that was like that about Suspiria, when you watch Inferno will just your brain will hurt because Inferno has less narrative. Inferno has the least narrative out of the Mother of Tears trilogy, the Three Mothers trilogy. He has the least amount in that. So I've already resigned myself to the fact that I'm going to have my defensive posture in place for that one because I love Inferno and I know for a fact you're going to fucking hate it.
Okay, good. So this one, I do like it. I mean, I've said to you before, I've seen a couple of other of Argento's giallos, and I do like the giallo films. It's the horror films I can't really get behind, but yeah, this is good. I mean, I really enjoyed Bird with the Crystal Plumage. This, though, for me, is like, this is visually stunning. It's some of the death scenes are incredible. The cinematography is great. Just some of the weird shots of the woman putting the T-shirt over her head and he slashes a hole in it and kind of that gate. That is so just odd and creative and just the kind of thing you don't see in films. And that's, one of the things, isn't it, people obviously like about Argento is these kind of scenarios that he creates that are just unlike anything else you've really ever seen. There's another one where the woman's murdered and her head kind of smashes through the window with her throat cut. I think that's the front cover of a lot of the versions of the film that you can get. And again, that's kind of a really great sequence. There's the scariest dog I've ever seen in this movie.
The dog's fucking... Who is this dog?
It knows parkour, this dog. I've never seen anything like it. Like, it scales an 8-foot fence at one point. Because if I was ever being chased by a dog and I saw an 8-foot fence, I'd think, I'm safe. I will climb over that fence and that dog's got no chance. The dog, it's almost like the dog's one of the actors in the films. It walks up to the fence, circles back, takes a run up, and fucking clears it in like 2 jumps. And I thought, Jesus, that is fucking terrifying. Like, there's no way you can go, is there, from a dog like that? I mean, it's obviously a stunt dog and it's been trained to do that, but I thought that's fucking brilliant. Mm-hmm. It's the way it walks away from the fence, turns around and runs back.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen this film for years. And I thought, I'm sure that dog purposefully takes a run up at that fence. Yep. And when it did, I was like, oh my, that's fucking brilliant.
It's putting almost like a human, these things that you would think of being as human thought into a dog, and there's something insanely menacing about that. And it's like really...
It's almost like you can see the cogs turning in that dog's head and it thinks, right, I'm going to have to take a run up to get up this fence. And it does. And it's not even a big run up either. It's... That's sort of scary. I'd need about half a mile to clear that. And it's amazing. The soundtrack's great. It's Goblin again. It's really obviously Goblin. It sounds very similar to Dawn of the Dead. Mm-hmm. There's certain aspects of it when there's like a bit of a chase or something going that really sounds similar to that. So that's great. The acting / dubbing is not really that bad for an Italian movie. Yeah. You do get the Italian version. Mm-hmm. And I was meaning to ask you, because people like John Saxon in this movie are obviously English. In the Italian version, does an Italian actor dub him?
Yes.
Right. Okay. It's weird, isn't it, the way they do it?
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure that in the Italian version it's not all completely dubbed again anyway.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think... I think it's been a while since I watched the full Italian version. This is one of the very few Italian horror movies, and you've hit the nail on the head because the dubbing's so good in it. There's one of the very few ones that I actually watch in English with full dubbing. Like, for example, when I watch Deep Red's all in Italian for me. It always has to be in Italian, and I have to watch it in Italian because the dubbing is not great.
Right. Well, I was really annoyed. You know I bought Deep Red and I asked you which version to watch, and you said watch the Italian version.
Yes.
Annoyingly, the Italian version hasn't got the English dub.
Oh, fuck, really?
Yeah, so the Italian version you have to watch with subtitles, and the English version you have to watch dubbed. There's no interchange, which is annoying because I specifically bought that film because I couldn't get on with it in the subtitles, just because I was finding it hard to, like, it was just, I don't know, there was just something about it I couldn't really follow.
Yeah.
So I deliberately bought the version with English dubbing, thinking I'll probably get on with it a bit better if I watch that. And that's not because I don't like subtitled films, because I've got a massive amount of subtitled films in my collection. It's just there's something about Deep Red that I couldn't get into. So I thought, maybe if I get the English version, I might find it a bit easier to swallow, sort of thing. And obviously then you told me to watch the Italian version because it's the better cut and it's fucking not in English. So I haven't got around to watching it.
I'm in the minority on that one, actually. I think the majority of people will tell you that the English cut is a better one, but the English cut removes... If the English cut plays Dario Argento's character as almost a suspect in part in the movie, which is just crap. It's not like that at all. Like when you watch the Italian full-length version, there's a romantic like thing going on between our main character, the piano player, and the reporter is linked up as they are both investigating things together. Which I prefer. I prefer that version of it. But like I say, I know a lot of people that will tell you that it slows the movie down and all the rest. I just don't see it that way. Okay.
And I mean, there's some good little kind of plot things in this. Like the girl just randomly gets chased by this parkour dog.
Yes.
It chases her to almost, that's like the killer's lair, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Which is cool. And then she's kind of stuck there. She sees obviously that this, she realises that she's found the murderer's lair. I'd forgotten who the killer was because I'd only seen this once.
Ah, awesome! Because this one's the one that throws a lot of people, actually, is because when they watch the movie they think there's only one killer and there's not, there's two.
There is there two? Is there?
Right. See, it's sometimes it depends. Like, some people like miss the connection. Right. The reporter guy that asks him at the start, you know, the wee reporter guy that like starts really aggressively questioning him about, you know, how do you feel comfortable with your movies being morally, you know, reprehensible and demeaning towards women and all the rest. He's the killer. Right. So he kills everyone up. So,
do you know what I thought that? Because I thought I was annoyed. I thought if I had time, I was going to watch it again. Because, you know, like with the Sixth Sense thing, where you need to watch it again to see if the filmmaker's fucked up. And I was sure when a note got slid under the door, he was in the other room and he couldn't have possibly done that.
Right.
And
you're right. Yeah. So the reporter guy is the first killer. When he dies, then the second killer emerges, and I think we can go into spoiler on this one. Once again, this movie came out in '82, so it's like 33 years old. Our main character, which is totally against the giallo tropes that Argento himself has made, and it's one of the reasons I think the movie stands out. In Argento giallo movies before this, there is always an American or there's a foreign person in Italy who witnesses a murder, works with the police in a kind of police procedural sort of fashion to track down who the killer is. In this movie, we have that for the first 3/4 of the movie, and then the last quarter of the movie, our American, the writer, he is actually the killer. He becomes the killer, and he basically becomes a killer because through these murders that are happening, they trigger a repressed memory that he's had when he murdered someone as a youth. And then he goes, that's why I keep getting those flat. It's funny because after all the kill sequences in the beginning, you get this trigger scene of him having one of these flashback dreams, which I've always thought is inherently confusing, because you will assume that because there's a kill and then a flashback to the dream sequence at the end, Peter Neal's character's a killer, because, you know, he's been having all these flashbacks. But no, there are two different killers. Peter Neal's character, he just continues the killing on, and that's how they know that there's another killer, because when that
so when does the first killer die?
The first killer dies at the hands of Peter Neal, does he not? Does Peter Neal not kill him?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He actually kills him, and then continues. That's his first kill in the movie, so to speak, and then he continues killing from that point onwards. And I love it. You mentioned about things like to do with the classic Argento eye for shots. I mean, that's what he does. He sets up shots. It's been the bane of a lot of his career, is that a lot of people say he spends too much attention to making sure that it has these most insane, incredibly looking shots, and not necessarily as much time making sure the actors can act. And that's definitely a criticism that you could throw at him in his later career. I think what's cool about this one is that we get probably my favourite shot in horror ever, of any horror movie that's ever existed. The tracking shot outside the building with the two lesbians. Okay. And that's all done in one shot. So the camera moves out and then up the building and then through another window and then pans down some stairs and then comes around and moves. All done seamlessly in one shot. Could, in my opinion, be the best constructed shot in a horror movie ever. I just think it's fucking brilliant. And it's timed perfectly to the Goblin score for Tenebrae. It's timed perfectly to moving out and all the rest. And that's the same sequence where the woman goes through the window and the woman gets her shirt slashed. So you have all that in the space of like 10 minutes. You get some of the most iconic shots in not only Italian horror cinema, but I generally think in horror cinema. I think this movie's bloody. Like, it's really, like, other movies he did were pretty bloody. He goes for it in this one. It's a lot of gore.
Oh god, some of the blood splatter. Like, I mean, one of the kind of last murders in the movie, where she gets her arm chopped off.
It's amazing.
It is brilliant. I mean, it's almost it's almost like a theatre piece, like spraying the blood deliberately across a white wall. It's great. I mean, it's obviously deliberate, and it's not particularly realistic, but it works in that visual style, because we've seen the other things first off. The slashing the t-shirt and these kind of elaborate death sequences. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look out of place when she dramatically hose pipes the wall with blood. It works, doesn't it? It's great.
It's brilliant, and the great thing, there's, like I say, there's so many iconic scenes for me in this movie. Is one of the reasons I've always gravitated to this one above Suspiria or Deep Red, which are in order. That's my order. My favourite Argento movies are, it's Tenebrae, then Suspiria, then Deep Red.
Okay.
But the reason Tenebrae kind of wins it for me is a lot of those aspects. It's the kind of mystery, the twist that it has in it, I think is fucking brilliant. Because it feels like some of the other giallo movies, the killer that's finally introduced at the end, it doesn't really quite make sense, and then they die a horrible way. And that's kind of how a lot of these movies, not just Argento, but if you look at Fulci, if you look at Bava to an extent, maybe not so much Bava, but we look at these guys, that's kind of the template that they design out. And that's one of the reasons when you watch A Bay of Blood, that's one of the reasons I enjoy A Bay of Blood so much, because A Bay of Blood pokes fun at these tropes. That's why every killer in that movie dies in a really gruesome death sequence, because it's almost Bava saying, look kind of what the giallo movies have kind of become. I started them and look where they've went. And that's why he kind of highlights them in there and then moves away towards the slasher style, which hasn't been born yet properly. So he kind of moves to that. It's one of the reasons I love that movie. But there's a sequence in this movie which I think is just fucking brilliant, and it's just after the arm cut sequence, and Peter Neal uses his switchblade to cut his throat, his open blade razor, to cut his throat, and we think he's dead. And when the police officer comes back in, he can't find the body. All he can find is the open blade razor, which has a button at the side of it which squirts out fake blood. So he's obviously fake killed himself. And as he's bending down though to pick that up, Peter Neal's behind him perfectly, and there's fucking lightning crackling in the background, and it lights his face, and then he kills him with an axe. It's fucking amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And this movie finishes with Daria Nicolodi screaming her lungs out. I mean, that's how many movies do you see that finishes with someone just fucking screaming over the credits?
All it was missing there was a bastard.
Yeah. Bastard! Yeah. Why is PC's not on the fucking list?
So we could talk about it. I was going to say, like, at the end of this, like, if we do a quick 5 minutes on what films probably should have been on there that weren't, and also what films, if there was a list today, would make the list.
Oh, I think could we do that as maybe a supplemental issue then? Like we'll do like a maybe we'll release an episode after we've finished all the movies, maybe 45 minutes long, where we just go through a list of things.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. Just our opinions, because I imagine that when we come to do our list, we'll pick like I don't know, 5-10 movies each that we would think would make that list just now. I imagine some of them will be on the nose for me, but I imagine that from doing this podcast, I think there'll be a disparity on certain titles between me and you. I think you'll go off in different directions, so that could be a lot of fun. But Tenebrae to me is just it's the perfect giallo movie. It gives you everything you expect from a giallo. It gives you the glove killer, which even Argento to an extent moves away from slightly after Tenebrae, but you get your glove killer, you get gruesome deaths, you get a foreign character in a country, you get his there's some sort of backstory to some sort of trauma that's happened in the past, you get wonderful kill sequences, the gore is vibrant and vicious, it's genuinely, there are sequences which are genuinely pretty fucking freaky. Like you mentioned, the dog. I've got dogs. That sequence terrifies me. It's fucking horrible. You've got the dog chase sequence. You've got, like I say, the sequence in the house, the tracking shot. I just think it's a complete package. I think... do I think it's the Argento film that should have been on the prosecuted list? No. Funnily enough, I think it's difficult for me to equate an Argento movie to be on the list at all. Obviously, just because we've said before we don't believe in censorship. But I think Deep Red probably merited to be more on this, because Deep Red's a bit more vicious than Tenebrae with the kills. Than Tenebrae is. But that's not to say to take anything away from Tenebrae. I think it tempers that. To me, Tenebrae is a movie that's made for America. It's almost like Argento's Hollywood movie. And that's why it works as well as it does Not personally speaking, that's why I think it works. You got anything else you want to cover in this?
No. Let's grade it then. So you've just said you don't think it should have been on the list.
No, Tenebrae should not have been on the list at all, because it doesn't have any of the things that we personally have said in the past would merit us considering it from that time frame as being something on the list. It is basically, it's a murder mystery who did it with some gore. It's not really that. To be honest, I even with the kill sequences in this movie, I would find it difficult to give it anything other than a slap on the wrists as well, because there's no implied sexual violence in this movie. To an extent there is through a dream sequence, but it's not on a graphic level at all. It is very, very subtly implied. It falls into a lot of the kind of the levels that we would put like a slasher movie, except this movie has really no sex in it at all. It kind of plays more into the kind of murder mystery, whodunit. There's no supernatural elements here. It's not a particularly scary movie at all. There are some scary elements in it, but it's not a scary movie. So I would find it difficult to give it anything. I would give it a slap on the wrist for the gore. Because we say there is quite a lot of blood in it, but definitely not on the list.
No. Yeah, I agree for all the reasons you've just said. Definitely shouldn't be on the list. Yeah, slap on the wrist for the gore. I mean, the gore's great, and it's really kind of, it looks amazing in HD and all that sort of thing, but it's not particularly realistic or like brutal violence. It's not, it doesn't make, oh God, it doesn't make you look away, or it's not realistic enough. You know what I mean? Yeah, okay. On paper, it looks quite brutal. There's people being murdered with axes, people being stabbed. But the way it's done, it's more like just visually pleasing more than anything else, more than disturbing. I can't really see why anyone would get particularly offended. I think the reason it was on the list is the arm chop scene at the end, because that was completely removed until... Yeah, I mean, it was partially removed in some cuts, completely removed in others, and obviously in its full intact kind of glory in the versions that we've watched. But if that's the worst bit of the movie, it's so over the top and theatrical. I really find it difficult to think why anyone would even get offended, even if they just saw that shot on its own out of context. I still don't get it. So no, it shouldn't be on the list, and it's just a slap on the wrist for this one.
Yes. So Tenebrae down. So of the Argento movies you've seen, just out of curiosity, thinking out loud just now, of the Argento movies you've seen, what's your favourite? Do you have a favourite?
I'm not sure. I'm just trying to think which ones I've watched.
So you watched Bird with a Crystal Plumage. You've watched Deep Red. You've watched Suspiria. You've watched Tenebrae. Have you ever seen Cat and Nine Tails?
No, I haven't. I'm meaning to watch that.
You'd like that.
Four Flies on Grey Velvet. That's another one, isn't it?
Those that's the Animal trilogy he did. If you like Bird with the Crystal Plumage, then Cat and Nine Tails is in a similar vein because they're in kind of close time frame to each other. Four Flies on Grey Velvet is like his precursor to Deep Red. So it's him getting more violent, more graphic just before he goes off and does Deep Red. So certainly from my point of view, if you like that sort of element to do with his giallo work, then probably start with those beginning ones. And I'm never going to hold out hope. I'm never going to give up hope that eventually one day you'll like Suspiria. But I understand exactly where you're coming from. I can't argue against the points that you've raised in the past, because you're right. You're 100% right.
I wish I did like it though. It's one of them things like, when everyone kind of lords this over these movies, I kind of think, am I missing something? Yeah. Like why? But I just don't think I am. I just think it's not for me. It just
doesn't connect. It doesn't connect.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of horror. However, we're about to go on and talk about a movie which I can genuinely say I don't think this movie connects with anyone. If it did, let's
just get this out of the way with. Let's just get this over with.
Right, so we're going to take a short break. You're going to hear some promos for shows on the Horrorphilia Network. You're going to hear people talking learnedly, unlike what we're about to do, about our second movie review, which is The Werewolf and the Yeti. Ridiculous name for a ridiculous movie. We're going to be right back after this break.
Banana Laser is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Hey, Wazell, I think we should record a new ad for Banana Laser.
Great idea, Dave. We should say that Banana Laser Horror Podcast is hosted by us and Alex.
What? I heard my name.
I think we should talk about the retrospectives. They've been a pretty big hit. Fucking Friday the 13th, Saw, Halloween retrospective.
Yeah, man, I've heard people listen to that Halloween retrospective every October like it's tradition.
Yeah, you don't say. Well, I shouldn't be surprised. I do too.
You listen to your own podcast?
Yeah, our shit is that damn good.
Yeah, man, we should also say in the ad we hope to introduce horror fans to something new, whether it's a movie they haven't heard of, or look at other films in a new way.
Yeah, we could talk about our walking through the 80s specials we did when we covered the 80s movies. We could talk about rolling through the 70s.
We could talk about you doing mushrooms.
Yeah, we can. Are you writing this down?
Writing? What are you two talking about?
Yeah, and the ad should say all the technical stuff too, like you can find our show and its full archive on horrorphilly.com, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. Is there anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's... Oh, hold on. We could talk about Banana Bites, because no one else does it. It's the in-between-isodes.
Yeah, all about horror news, releases, and of course with our witty opinions and observations.
Ugh.
Yeah, shit.
Perfect, man. I think that should do it. This new ad for Banana Laser is gonna be awesome.
Oh, that's what you guys are talking about. Can I be on it?
No. Banana Laser wins every time.
The Werewolf and the Yeti. What a title. It does all sound rather silly, doesn't it? But isn't that what exploitation films should be? Fun, sex, werewolves, torture, nudity. It was issued to American cinemas as Night of the Howling Beast, and it's a pity that it hasn't been issued here since this canon video release, which, incidentally, is highly collectible indeed. It remained on the final DPP 39 list right up to the very end. Here we have a rare French dubbed theatrical trailer.
Et dans la nuit, on entendra leur hurlement diabolique. Mes hommes sont très superstitieux. Ils refuseront d'aller à Karakora. Quel mystère enferme le légendaire Tibet? Quels horribles démons terrorisent des hommes qui n'hésitent pas à jouer leur vie?
And welcome back. So this is our second movie review. This is The Werewolf and the Yeti, aka Night of the Howling Beast, and it has a ton of other AKAs, by the way. I listed them on the page last night, and yeah, there's fucking loads of these ones. This movie came out in 1975, but was officially released in the States in 1977. Do you know when it was released in the UK? Is this one of these ones that just appeared and then went on the list?
Didn't even bother looking.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Directed by Miguel Iglesias. The synopsis is listed on IMDb, which makes this movie sound a lot more interesting than it actually fucking is. Waldemar, the renowned adventurer, joins an expedition to find the Yeti in the Himalayas. While hiking in the mountains, he's captured by two cannibalistic demon nymphets, which I actually think they're just vampires, guarding a remote Buddhist temple, and becomes their sex slave. They transform him into a werewolf, setting him loose to roam the mountain where he encounters a sadistic bandit. That's a terrible fucking synopsis. And it makes this movie sound a lot better than it actually was. This movie was banned, by the way, in 1983. I went on the list in 83. It's right. Oh, this movie's awful.
It's awful. I don't know. I haven't got anything to say. It's just shit.
It's really, really bad. And I know I'd been speaking to Mike Murphy from Badasses, Boobs and Body Counts about this movie like months ago when I announced he'd asked us what show Tenebrae and Zombie Flesh Eaters was going to be on, and I'd said, show 13, and he's like, what's the other movie you're doing? And I was like, The Werewolf and the Yeti, and he's like, alright, and he's obviously seen it. And I was like that, not really holding out much hope for it from the title. The title sounds ridiculous. And he's like that, well, it is a pretty ridiculous film. I think he looks upon this movie as being one of these, possibly, and Mike, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, as a kind of so bad it's good sort of scenario. I can't agree with you at all.
No.
It's a weird fucking movie in terms of tone, especially because there are moments here that made me laugh because I thought they were aimed at comedy. I don't think they are. We have this, like it says in that horrible synopsis, we have this guy who is he a renowned adventurer? I didn't really know that until someone pointed it out. He does join an expedition because people have been killed by Yeti at the beginning, and the photographs clearly show that there's a Yeti up there, which, if you are anyone, that's not your full scientific proof, but right now you're famous because you have photos of a fucking Yeti. But no, apparently that's not enough for these people. They're going to send some explorers up there. Our main guy gets captured by these women who take them to a cave, and I can we class this as rape? This is what kept coming over my head last night.
Dream rape.
Yeah, he doesn't implicitly get raped per se, but in his dream he's being molested by these women. So it's kind of almost like a half rape. So I don't know if this might be, we could, depending on how you want to look at this could be the first Doing the Nasty episode to feature a movie which doesn't have rape, or this could be another Doing the Nasty episode which features kind of implied rape through someone's dream. So I'm going to leave that to you. I'm not going to try and listeners, you can choose whichever way you want to go into this. But these women are, he's got this guy that's written this synopsis has said cannibal demons. They're not, they're vampires. They've got fangs.
Yeah.
They're vampires. I mean, I thought it was pretty obvious they were vampires. And they somehow, because they're vampires, have the ability to change this guy into a werewolf.
Don't know how that works.
I don't know either. I thought to become a werewolf you need to be bitten by a werewolf. Or
usually,
generally. That's what I thought, Andy. And granted, I'm only going with what I've seen in the movies. Not being an
that's
expert.
all we've got to go.
They're not being an expert on werewolf lore, which, by the way, comes from the movies. But I'm not knowing this. I didn't know that vampires could create werewolves.
You do now.
I do now. That's right. So, and then basically his friends get captured by some weird fucking Tibetan group of sadists. Pirates is what I was thinking. I see when I started, I thought, because they definitely evoke the spirit of pirates, but I thought pirates needed a boat. But then maybe they don't, because if you do video piracy, you're not on a boat when you do it. Some people might be. I don't know.
True. So they just needed a VHS player.
So they start doing things, and I kind of felt a bit cheated because I had read the Wikipedia synopsis for this, which says that this movie culminates in an epic hand-to-hand combat between the werewolf. Yeah, hand-to-fang. Combat between the werewolf and the Yeti, and it's pretty shit. It's anticlimactic. It is not, and obviously it's a product of its time, and I shouldn't really overly criticise it. It's a cheaply made movie and all the rest. But that's what I kept watching this. Had I not known that sequence was going to be at the end, Andy, I would have switched this off. Or had I not been doing this podcast, even the bad ones you have to watch. But there was nothing dragging me into this movie at all, other than the promise of this epic fight at the end, which I got. And it was so anticlimactic and such a letdown. Yeah. I don't know how you're supposed to take this movie. I genuinely don't. I don't know what its the spirit in which it's aimed at. I don't know if it's deliberately supposed to be kind of tongue-in-cheek in bits. They're clearly influenced in some sections, like the vampire chicks are clearly influenced by, you know, the kind of Hammer horror vampire movies, the way they look, the way they float. So they're kind of influenced by things to do with Hammer horror. It's just poorly executed, poorly acted. The story's pretty shit. And yeah, I didn't like it. I don't like it. I think it's funny that on IMDb, the picture for this movie is the cover, and on that someone has actually put the 5.1 IMDb stars on the front cover, and that has changed since then because it now holds a 5.3 on the ratings. To me, that's probably 5.3 ratings too high. I thought it was just high. I just thought it was a shit movie. I just really, I can't muster up. On any other show, I may have had more to say about it. But on this show, when you are unfairly positioned between two masterpieces of Italian horror cinema, it's very difficult for me to give a fuck about this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. This is one of the ones that just made me angry that I was having to watch it. I just thought, this is just wasting my fucking life doing this. This is terrible. No, I mean, obviously it is low budget, but, you know, Zombie Flesh Eaters is fucking low budget as well. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can hide behind that as an excuse for having a terrible movie. If your budget is so small that you can't make a decent movie, just don't bother, or just wait a couple of years until you have got the cash. Do you know what I mean? It's like just churning out shit for the sake of doing a movie. I'm not interested. And it's weird, you know, banned by the BBFC. Why? I'm not really sure. I mean, there's a scene of a guy impaled on a spike, a bit like Cannibal Holocaust, isn't there? You notice that?
Shit. That's the
thing. Cannibal Holocaust. Obviously, they did it far better. There's a guy that looks like Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid. Don't think that's why it's on the list. The only thing I think is like the back kind of flaying someone alive, like skinning their, skinning the meat off their back. Mm-hmm. Is the only reason I can think this has hit the list. That final sequence of torture.
Yeah, but is it bad though?
No, not at all. I'm just trying to work out how it's possibly on the list, and that's the only thing I can think. It's that last, kind of torture sequence. Because there really isn't anything else in it. Like it's one of the tamest films on the list. It's one of the worst. I think it's certainly in the top 3 worst films, and not in a good way. I wouldn't put.
Watched. Yeah.
Like something like Blood Feast is not in my top 3 or probably even my top 5 shittest films because it's entertaining. This has got none of that.
Yeah, I think that's where you can forgive Blood Feast, all those things, because I've found very few movies recently where I have laughed till the tears are rolling down my face, like I did with Blood Feast. And Blood Feast, I think even when it came out, it was aimed as a kind of a shock but entertaining movie. Yeah, you know, I mean that's what Herschel Gordon-Lewis did. He created a movie which was there to entertain and shock at the same time, and that shock value has clearly worn off as time has went off. The entertainment value has not. I think it's just as probably entertaining now as it was then. This movie is not entertaining. It is not as. It's just so pedestrian, I think that's what it was. It was so beige of a movie that there's just nothing really in here that I personally found even remotely on the slightest bit offensive at all. Yeah,
no, not at all. Like, I watched Blood Feast again. I'd rather sandpaper my ball bag and sit in vinegar than watch this movie again, because it's just like it's just wank. It really is bad. Apparently, there's a sequel. To this Return of the Wolfman, aka The Craving. I will won't be bothering with that one.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be watching that one either. I think we're not going to spend much time on this one because the next movie there's so much to talk about.
Let's just fucking get rid of this one then. So I don't think it should have been on the list, and I'm going to dismiss the shit out of it.
I am going to second that. This one gets no accolades, no fucking hype, no nothing. It shouldn't be on the list, and I would dismiss the utter shit out of this movie. Get out of my court, I would say.
Right, done.
Excellent, right? So that was a bad movie. So we're going to take a short break. When we return, we're going to be talking about our second Fulci movie on the Video Nasty list. We have one more to talk about, which lands next week. He's three on the list, man. Go Fulci. Yeah, what a guy. We're going to be talking about what was known in our country as zombie flesh eaters. You Americans may know it as Zombie or Zombie 2, depending. I think it is Zombie 2, but apparently there's some listing some places of Zombie.
Right.
Who the fuck knows? I don't know. I told you, we worked this out back at the very start when we did Anthropopicus and stuff like that. The Italians get a wee bit dodgy when it comes to this numbering system for the zombie movies. There's no rhyme, sense or reason to them. So we're going to take a short break. Again, more promos from Horophilia, more learned words. Andy's going to come back and lead the charge and tell you why the fuck Zombie Flesh Eaters is a movie that needs to be watched all the time. So he's gonna make the case for that right after this.
There are many mysteries in this world, and whether you believe or not believe, we gather to explore the strange and unexplained, where the paranormal is normal and nothing tastes like chicken. We are Mysterious Boom! Exclusively on the Horophilia network of podcasts.
Lucio Fulci had 3 movies on the Video Nasty list, the most notorious of which, and the most famous of course, is Zombie Flesh Eaters. Now this was originally released as an X-certificate version, but then suddenly had this version come out, strong, uncut version, just so you were in no two minds of what you were going to see here. Obviously, this is Dawn of the Dead rip-off. Enzo Castellari was originally going to direct Zombie Flesh Eaters, or Zombie 2, it was originally called, to cash in on the Italian title of Dawn of the Dead. But the producer realised that Fulci had actually come off 2 quite big successes, Don't Torture a Duckling and The Psychic, and so decided to use him instead.
Ahoy there! This is the Harbor Patrol. Anyone on board?
Yes, she looks abandoned.
Is it something big?
That's just what we'd like to know.
One more step and I'm gonna blast you. Now freeze where you are!
My father's boat.
And how long since you last spoke to him?
Well, we have to go to Matul. We're trying to locate Anne's father. She hasn't heard from him for some time.
That's not a cool place to hit. Natives claim it's cursed. They avoid it like the plague.
I'm going to tell everyone that you're the one who's crazy. Demented, cruel, evil... What exactly did my father die of, Dr. Minot? And the boat's crew, what happened to them?
What's about the dead coming back to life again and having to be killed a second time?
These islands, fantastic legends, voodooism, zombies, been rife for centuries.
Voodoo's just superstitious horseshit.
Now, whatever it is, it makes the dead stand up and walk. I've seen it with my own eyes.
And welcome back. So our third movie of the evening, the final movie on the prosecuted list, Zombie Flesh Eaters. Oh, it's a bit sad.
It's a bit sad. This has been an epic journey.
It has. Italy, 1979, directed by Lucio Fulci, released in November 81 in the UK, added to the list in October 83. So it got nearly 2 years. Got a fairly good run. Officially, one of the most financially successful video nasties ever.
Yes.
It did very well for itself, this movie. Quick synopsis. Boat is found in New York Harbour with a zombie on it, which bites and turns/kills a policeman. This made me laugh. The cop is really reluctant to shoot the guy who he thinks is a zombie. I thought that's not realistic. Although he was white, so maybe that had something to do with it. Oh. But, he does kill him. Well, he thinks he's killed him. Obviously, and this guy's a zombie. And he bites the copper. A reporter goes to investigate this. He kind of manages to get teamed up with the daughter of the guy who owns the boat. And then they head to Matul, which is sort of a Caribbean-esque sort of island. I think it's one of the US Virgin Islands it's meant to be, where strange experiments are being done. And we basically find out we've got some kind of voodoo zombie shit going on, which is a different take on the whole zombie thing. I think there's kind of two kind of schools of thought with the zombie, isn't there? Two like sort of methods that they use to explain zombies.
Yes.
And this is kind of the voodoo version. Like we were saying earlier, we watched the transfer of this from the Arrow release, which is fucking brilliant, amazing. I think did Blue Underground do a version as well?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, it's probably very similar to that. It looks amazing. The music is great in this as well.
Fabio Frizzi, who has he continued to work with Fulci through City of the Living Dead. He did The Beyond with him. He did early work with him as well. I think I should know this. He did some of the earlier Fulci sort of giallos as well. So it's almost like Frizzi's work with Fulci is like Goblin's work with Argento.
Yeah, and it's great. It really works when you've got kind of the Caribbean kind of music. It's a little bit cheesy, just to let you know, just to keep reminding you that we are, in that kind of area.
In the sunny Caribbean.
Yeah, but then there's kind of the sort of the dark kind of a bit like the music that you get in Cannibal Holocaust sort of thing, yes. Almost like a bit sinister, and so it's great. It really suits the tone. Got some incredibly iconic scenes in this, because basically our two, like the reporter and the boat owner's daughter, need to kind of charter a boat to this island, and they find this couple that are just on like a scuba diving excursion. And they kind of go with them. She goes to do a bit of scuba diving, and she encounters a shark, which is scary enough. But then she also encounters like a swimming zombie, which is great. It's that thing a bit like in what they did with Land of the Dead. A zombie's already dead, so putting it underwater is not going to do shit. And this guy's underwater and ends up having a fight with the shark, which is fucking brilliant. Apparently, this was nothing to do with Fulci. He didn't even want this scene in the movie. But someone else that was involved said, no, this is great. They basically had like a marine kind of shark wrangler guy who they just put in zombie makeup. And it's so good because it's a real shark. It's a tiger shark, and it's a fucking big one. And he's just wrestling and fighting with this shark, and it's all real footage. And it's fucking great. It really adds a sense of realism to it. And then we get zombie attacking shark and eating shark, and I don't know. You've got to assume that the shark's going to turn into a zombie, haven't you? Although we never get to see that.
Yeah, Zombie Shark, which is a movie coming out on the Sci-Fi Network next year by Asylum.
Yeah, it will do. I can't wait to see that. So she kind of comes back to the surface and said there was a man under there. And they're like, what do you mean there's? And she's like, there's a fucking guy under the water. They obviously think she's a bit mad. So they go to the island anyway, where they're meant to be. Because the shark hit their boat and damaged it, so they're on Matul now, which is the island that the reporter and the girl wanted to get to anyway. And this is where they find out weird kind of voodoo experiments are being done. We then get one of the most iconic scenes, and it really holds up as well. This scene, the splinter in the eye scene. I'm sure even if people listening haven't watched Zombie Flesh Eaters, they've probably seen this somewhere on a meme or on YouTube or something. And it's great. We get to see a woman taking a shower. The zombies kind of lurking outside her cabin, and then it breaks in, and through like the hole that it's kind of smashed, it causes like splinters in the wood, and it pulls her very slowly eyeball first onto the shard, like the splinter, and it's fucking great. It like goes through her eye, and then it like turns her face, and it kind of half pulls her eye out. It's fucking great, considering how old this movie is, considering how low budget this movie is.
Yeah, 79 is quite incredible. It's something that, like, we're going to be talking about the Beyond next week, and in 2 weeks' time, but the movies that kind of follow this Fulci kind of, because I think this one is the one that became, people were talking about this sequence all the time, about how original it was, how fresh it was, how gruesome it was, that Fulci then starts implementing these sequences, these kind of slow person being pulled towards something sequences in the movies he does afterwards. So Set the Living Dead, it's the guy's face getting pulled towards a drill, which then goes through the side of his face. In the Beyond, we have another sequence where someone's eyes get bashed into something. I think even House by the Cemetery, if memory serves, there's another sequence where there's like a slow motion something coming towards someone, which Fulci really grabs onto. But this is the original one. This is the OG. And it's fucking brilliant. He executes it perfectly.
I couldn't help but thinking, she's got both hands free, just move the splinter.
Well, yeah, and every single one of these kills that you see in all the other ones as well, it's exactly the same position. You're like, why are you not doing anything?
Yeah. If my eye's being pulled towards a splinter, I reach out with one hand and pull the splinter away.
Yeah.
Simple. The atmosphere in this movie, I think, is great. The plot, it starts out really strong and then it goes a little bit plodding. But I'm finding it really intriguing because we're finding out little bits. There's just little hints of zombies lurking around and that sort of thing. And then it all leads up to this kind of final 30 minutes, which is just fucking awesome. Like, this is what basically Cannibal Apocalypse should have been. This is a movie we talked about right back at the beginning, where we kind of see a guy in a hospital gets bit, and then a guy in a shop gets bit, and then someone in a cinema, and like loads of different people getting bit, which is basically leading you up to this huge cannibal apocalypse, where it's not cannibal, it's zombie in this case, but where everybody is just slowly all over the city turning into zombies. Mm-hmm. And we get that in this movie. We get that in this film because you've got the guy back in New York who bit the police officer. He's obviously then bit the morticians at the hospital who have then bit other people in the hospital. You don't necessarily get to see all this, but it's obvious that that's what's going to happen. And we do get kind of treated, considering how low budget this film is, we do get treated to, zombies walking across Brooklyn Bridge at the end. So we don't necessarily get to see the massive apocalypse throughout London, throughout the city of New York, but we do get to see that has actually happened, which is something I reckon was a massive missed opportunity in Apocalypse.
Definitely.
So this is just great because even though we don't really get to see the full extent of it in New York, on this island, Matul is a fucking bloodbath. There's so much zombie action that it's amazing. The last 30 minutes is just people fighting zombies, getting bit and blowing them to pieces, setting them on fire. Oh, it's just fucking great. So what did you think? Because you said you hadn't seen this for about 10 years. And you weren't you weren't as impressed with what I clearly am then. How do you feel about it now?
Well, it was interesting coming back to, because I think you'd said... I think sometimes when I speak about this movie on shows, I'm very dismissive of it.
Okay.
Just because I tend to focus... When Fulci's name gets mentioned, I tend to so clearly focus on the ones that I think are just like, masterpieces of cinema, even though we're still mentioning them in the name Fulci. But, I'll always mention The Beyond. I'll always mention something like Don't Torture a Duckling. I'll always, kind of focus on these specific movies that sometimes I think that the impression comes across that I don't like zombie flesh eaters, and that's that. I think my opinion 10 years ago was, whilst I thought it was so ahead of its time, it influences pretty much all the way zombies will be portrayed in movies after the fact. I mean, people are looking to just very much similar to how Night of the Living Dead comes out, and then that kind of redefines how the zombie genre goes. This kind of is the same. The way that Fulci deals with zombies, the kind of maggot, worm-infested, gory, greasy, slimy kind of corpses and that starts to permeate through other films after this point. I think he's very much ahead of his time. My issue before was that I didn't think the story was great, and I've always been of that opinion that I thought the Zombie Flesh Eater's story was a bit naff. And then when you watch City of the Living Dead, there's a narrative there that I can really get behind, and when you watch The Beyond, there's a narrative there that I really cling on to, and it's almost as if Zombie Flesh Eaters is him kind of putting out a test and then going, right, that kind of works on these levels, right, but I didn't really like this, so the next movie I'm going to do, I'm going to add a religious element more so. So, like, in this one, it's voodoo. And the next movie, it's a priest killing himself, which creates a curse. You know, in the movie after that, it's literally a gate to hell. So, you know, he's building on these ideas to kind of define what is bringing forth the dead back to life. And watching it back this time, the story didn't annoy me as much as previous. There was certain aspects I genuinely couldn't really remember about this movie. I couldn't remember the full detail about how voodoo was involved. I'd forgotten pretty much mostly about the doctor that works on the island. His character, when I saw him, I was like, oh fuck, that's right, you're the doctor, right, that makes more sense. There are still elements of the story which kind of annoy me, and I do feel genuinely slow down the tempo of this movie. I think you could probably cut 10 minutes out this movie and it would be arguably one of the best zombie movies ever made. I totally agree, the shark sequence is awesome, it's fucking amazing. I can see why Fulci didn't want it in the movie, because it doesn't really relate to, right, there's a zombie in it, but it kind of feels, I don't know, it kind of feels a bit forced, because we're given with this scenario where we're desperate to find this island because we need to find out what happened to our dead dad, and you know, we're going to charter these people, but we don't have charts that show where this island is, and potentially we could get lost, and we're out there for weeks. Now is the time we're going to stop and go scuba diving. And I know that they're on their holiday, you know what I mean? I know they're on their holiday, and that's what they're out to do, is take photographs of underwater life and all the rest. But I'm kind of thinking, once you drop these people off at the island, you then have time to do that. And it just kind of feels like an excuse to put the sequence in. Now, I love the fucking sequence. I think the sequence is one of the coolest shots in this movie, because it's like you say, this is not an animatronic shark. This is a real fucking shark. And this is a real man, not wearing scuba diving gear, underneath the water, interacting with a shark. It looks real. Everything about that sequence looks real. It's incredible. But then I stand back and look from a narrative point of view, does it add anything to the story, or does it slow the story down? And I personally feel it slows it down.
Okay.
But I like the sequence. It's weird. You know, part of me is like that, I need this sequence in my movie, and then the other part is like, doesn't need to be in the movie. And it's kind of weird, and I feel that slows it down. There are other sections where it kind of feels like you're right, the last half an hour of this movie is probably the most condensed, dense, action-packed zombie action you will see in any movie ever. And hands down, it blows away the competition. Where you have a camera panning and freezing on a frame where over the period it'll fixate for 1 minute and you will just slowly see zombies come out the ground. It's creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
So well done. So well executed for a movie which had a very small budget. The end of the movie as well. I love that idea, that last shot at the Brooklyn Bridge, and you just have a horde of zombies walking up, but you have cars driving underneath, and no one seems panicked. I love.
Well, they couldn't close the they couldn't close the bridge off.
Yeah, but I think that's fucking wonderful. I think it's really, really cool, because there's something.
But it's almost, to me, it seems like not everyone's aware of it yet. That's all that is.
Yeah. It's weird. I love the
people are trying to abandon the city, maybe.
Yeah, I love the idea that you've also got the radio reporter, like at the very end, talking through that, you know, saying, "Oh, and they're in the building. Oh my god!" You know, I love that as well. That's very Pontypool to me. I think that's fucking awesome. Yeah, I think it's still not in my top 3 Fulci movies. I'm glad I went back and watched it. I'll probably watch this again this year, I think, just because I think There's incredible things done in this movie. I think it is so ahead. But I say that about every Fulci movie, really, is that this movie feels so ahead of its time. Like, when you watch The Beyond, I think The Beyond is so far ahead of its time. When you see how people start doing kind of supernatural movies and that, moving into like the 90s and things like that, which are clearly influenced by The Beyond. They're clearly influenced by it. This is the same way. This movie is so ahead of its time, and it's Fulci working with a small budget and use a camera trickery. The really bad kind of like zombie makeup in this movie makes the zombies look realistic. It makes them
look all fucked up and decayed, and
totally makes, and for some reason it makes it feel realistic than if you watch I mean, these look like decomposed zombies. These don't have the polish of a Greg Nicotero Walking Dead zombie. You know what I mean? This is a proper looking, and I love the fact that every single zombie looks different. None of them have weird colours. Some come out with purple bits on them and pink bits on them. I love the fact that the attention to detail, like when someone grabs an arm, they're peeling the skin off because the skin's dead. It would slide off the body.
And there's that great scene like where there's obviously people from some war from like 400 years ago been buried, and they just find a helmet where the guy says, "God, this helmet's about 400 years old," and they realise they're in some kind of graveyard, and we don't kind of get to see it, but what it is leading you to believe is that a 400-year-old soldier that's been buried there has come out the ground at some point and left his helmet behind. You know, it's all these little kind of clues and stuff at the quite early on.
It's full of it. It's full of it, and it really, really does. There's an attention to detail, and there's an attention to the storytelling on that island, which I completely appreciate. I love the fact that it's voodoo-based zombies. I've always loved the kind of voodoo-based zombie, probably even more so than the virus idea, which then kind of permeates through later on. I really like the idea of voodoo. It's one of the reasons like something like A Serpent and a Rainbow is a movie I could watch over and over again, because voodoo genuinely, it's like, voodoo scares me. It's like a fucking, it's a scary fucking subject matter, and
it's underused as well, I think.
It really is. It really is. It was one of those things that popped up every now and again in the 80s. It was a great way to explain kind of black like gangs in America and action movies. You watch something like Marked for Death and you see Steven Seagal
fucking voodoo magic, man.
You know what I mean? Are you a Predator too? You've got like fucking brilliant. It just goes down that road. I really like that idea in the story. I think it's a really cool use of something, and I love the fact that they only just touch on it. They don't. Fulci's just like that. They go as far as to explain what voodoo is, which I think's quite cool. But from that point onwards, they don't feel the need to keep ramming it. That gets mentioned a couple of times. It's voodoo, you know, try to study voodoo, you know, the magic. But it's not like we're not then seeing voodoo ceremonies and all the rest. We don't need to, because we know that's why the zombies are there.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think this movie's fucking awesome. I really, really, really do. I think it kind of, I mean, it was funny because in the Arrow print at the beginning of Zombie Flesh Eaters, we get that guy who plays the reporter who's been interviewed. And at the start, he's one of these guys that, you know, the Arrow do that from time to time. They'll have someone from the cast introduce it. And this guy said that he'd never seen the movie until recently, and he watched it, and he was just taken away by how professional it was and how realistic everything looked and whatnot. And he made a statement which I kind of disagree with. He said that this movie kind of single-handedly saved the Italian film industry. Yeah, it made a lot of money. It really, people like Argento by 79 were, you know, household names in horror cinema, commanding large. Suspiria was already out by this point, so I mean, it was commanding huge budgets. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but I would agree that this movie on paper should be shit. You know what I mean? It's made in 79. It's about zombies with a small budget. How many movies, Andy, have we watched on the Video Nasties list thus far that have zombies in them, were made in the 70s with a small budget, that have been awful?
Well, that's the thing. Like with this, normally with a lot of these films as well that we watch, like the last 15 minutes sometimes saves, and there's some good action in the last 15, sometimes even like the last 10 minutes. You know, something like Evil Speak. all right, it's really shit, but like the last 10 minutes is cool. This, we get treated to, in a 90-minute movie, 30 minutes of pretty much non-stop zombie action.
Yeah.
So it's a third of the film, because when I was watching it, like obviously the opening's pretty cool, where we go to the, like they find the body and then we go to the hospital and stuff. And then it kind of tapers off, and I remember thinking, like, oh shit, it's actually not as good as I thought it was. And then that last half an hour kicks in, and it's like, no, this is as good as I thought it was. You just have to be a little bit patient to get there, but it's so worth the payoff, because for me, like 30 minutes of non-stop zombie fighting and setting on fire and violence and then eating people, that's well worth the movie alone. And there are nice little subtle bits all the way through. I mean, like you say, the shark thing, it's totally out of context. It doesn't really fit in the story, but it's such a cool sequence. It's never been done before. It's never been done since. And it's a completely real shark. It's a real guy holding his breath underwater, fighting a shark. Just little cool scenes like that.
It's a realistic looking fight as well. I think that's the thing about it. It's not just a guy holding on to a shark. He is twisting, manipulating the shark. He's moving the shark about the place. He's putting his fake arm inside a shark's mouth so the shark can actually tear it off. It's, it's so well choreographed.
Yeah.
And it could be my favourite. I'm kind of thinking it loud. The only thing that I think maybe comes near it in terms of underwater sequences is in Inferno, which you'll watch. There's a fantastic underwater sequence in that where it's just so visually fucking stunning.
Yeah.
That it's on par with that, and I would always say that Inferno had the best one, but coming back and watching this and just seeing it now, thinking from an older point of view, from a reviewer's point of view, how logistically difficult it would have been to do that scene.
Oh god, yeah.
It just blows my mind, man. I can't imagine.
I'm thinking of buying Inferno, even though I hate it. You can pick it up for about $5 though on Amazon.
Buy it.
So I'm thinking, fuck it. If I'm going to watch it, I will need to watch it in its full glory. So I will probably get that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you hate it. I really hope you like it. It's only a $5, Andy. I'll give you the $5 back.
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing, is it? This is something that made me smile actually in this movie, because I've watched another film, and I actually can't remember what the film was in the last few days. It had the same thing that also made me laugh. And it's one of these things they do in films where there's a dead guy with his eyes open, and they close the person's eyes, which is obviously something that people do. But they don't touch their eyes when they do it. They just skim the hand over the face, not touching it, and miraculously, like a magic trick, once the hand's moved over the eyes, they're closed.
Yeah, it's one of these things that's done in a lot of movies, which doesn't.
And in modern stuff, right, in more modern programs, you literally see them use like the thumb and the middle finger and close the person's eyes. Whereas
that's what you need to do, Andy.
Whereas in this, the guy's hand is about an inch away from the bloke's face.
Yeah.
And it's like, ta-da! His eyes are closed. You know that thing where you move your hand up and you're smiling, and then you move it down and you're frowning? Yeah. So that just made me laugh. That's another one of those things, like people crawling through a perfectly clean vent.
Yeah. We're looking at you, Crawl Space.
Yeah, we're looking at you, Crawl Space. It happens in Demons as well, because obviously we're watching that for an upcoming review. He's crawling through a perfectly clean vent, and that's just another one of those funny tropes in films of people closing the eyes of a corpse, so they're not staring, but they don't touch their eyes, and it just makes me laugh. This, for me, I think is probably in the top 3 best movies on the entire list of 72 films.
Controversial.
I think. Yeah, obviously we'll go through our kind of list of favourites and stuff when we completely finish everything. Mm-hmm. But this is one of the ones that I've owned. It's one of the ones that I've owned for a while. I think since it got released back in 2012, I've had this. I've watched it a few times. I've watched it years ago and loved it. I think it's great. It's probably my top 3 zombie films of all time as well.
Ironically, we just did on the Midnight Horror Show, we did a top 20 zombie movies list, and this came in at number 19 for me, I think.
Okay.
Just because I hadn't seen it in years, and like I say, it always comes back to this idea that I always remembered that I didn't really like the story. Actually, that was the one thing that stuck out for me, was I couldn't remember necessarily characters. I could remember the kills, I love the kills, but I always come back to this idea of I don't like the story, and I don't know why I always come back to that. In hindsight, I would probably have moved it into my top 10. I don't necessarily think it would have made my top 5, just because my top 5 is just like ridiculously packed, like with movies which I have like are firm favourites of mine. But I think coming back to and watching it again, the appreciation level for this movie is a lot greater. I think the story's better than I necessarily give it credit for. I don't think it's a bad story. Like I say, I just find later Fulci zombie movies to have better stories. So it's not as if it's a bad story, it's just the stories that come afterwards I think are better. I do genuinely think this movie is pretty phenomenal. I watched it, I think we both watched it about the same time this morning before we started recording, which meant we both started watching it sometime about 8 in the morning. It's
a great way to start your Sunday. I got up bright and early and sat eating breakfast watching zombie flesh eaters.
I was watching. I was eating a yogurt combination with some granola in it, and it was like a strawberry yogurt, so it kind of looked pink and mushy. I was like, this kind of looks like someone had smeared it on someone's face and then kind of hair dried it to effect, because that zombie looks like he's got like kind of
granola and yogurt on his face.
Yeah, he does a wee bit. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the approach Fulci took. But I think it's wonderful. I think it's a really, really good movie. I think that this is probably going to be the best week of movies. If you remove the middle one, I don't think there are many shows coming up. There are one or two actually that have.
There's some great movies, but not. I think there's more than one in each episode, is there?
Yeah, this one has 2 outstanding movies on this one, and neither one of these movies is doing something for like over the top shock value. You know what I mean? There's no cannibal holocaust. Let's kill some animals to get this point. There's no last house on earth left. Rape sort of stuff going on in this movie. These movies are just badass fucking horror movies. They just play to that. They just take a kind of predefined structure and just turn them. They crank up to 11 so much in both Tenebrae and this, and they're just a blast to watch. I think that's the thing. They're fun to watch because you with Tenebrae you've got a killer going around killing people and blood being sprayed across the walls and really wonderful shots. In this movie, you get what you want if you want to watch a zombie movie. Like Andy says, you get legitimately 30 minutes of non-stop zombie action at the end of this movie, and it just keeps escalating and it's relentless like the zombies. You get that in this film as well. So, I mean, if you have been watching these movies along with us or checking them out on the links that I posted on the page this week, you are welcome. We have just given you just 2 fantastic movies to watch this week. It's fucking brilliant. How would you grade this one, sir?
I mean, given everything we've just said, I want to go, fucking get it on the list and give it hard time and that, but I don't think it really should have been on the list, because it's like you say, none of the stuff that we've said should make something go on the list.
Yeah.
Are in there, really. There's not really any rape. The gore is all kind of over the top and zombified gore. It's not anything particularly disturbing. The eye on the splinter thing, being pulled onto the splinter thing is great. And if you've got a problem with eye violence, which I know is quite a well-known thing, isn't it? You can actually Google, and there's a list of films that contain eye violence on Wikipedia specifically for people. It's a known thing that people cringe at the thought of eye violence. I'm not really one of them. So I don't think it should have been on the list, as awesome as it is. What grade do I give it? I don't know. I think I can only really give it a slap on the wrist.
Yeah. That's where I'm coming in, dude. That's where I'm coming in. It's exactly the same grade as Tenebrae for me.
Okay, yeah. I want to give it more because I almost think the film deserves more, but it isn't. It's just like you say, it's just a fantastic horror film, but it's not anything worthy of obscenity. It's just a fucking good film. So it shouldn't be on the list. I'm only going to give it a slap on the wrist for some incredibly good gore, But as far as the film goes, I love it. It's awesome. Check it out, definitely. And you can still pick it up pretty cheap. It's one of those ones on Arrow that never really sold out. I think they've still got copies, and you can pick it up for about £11, fully uncut, 2-disc version. You get a poster and a booklet and all sorts of shit. So yeah, it's great. I think it's region free as well. So for our American listeners, if you've not got the Blue Underground, this one is region free. So I reckon I can't recommend it enough. What do you think? Then the same?
Yeah, definitely. I'm coming in exactly. To me, it's just like Tenebrae. I think it didn't deserve to be on the list. And yeah, it's a slap on the wrists. I mean, if we were properly reviewing these movies, the grading would be, I think both these movies would score high.
Yeah.
But in the context of what we do on this show, because they're scoring low, it just means that we're not finding anything in them at all which we think would merit them being considered offensive and necessarily be put on the list. I have the Arrow Blu-ray as well, but what I really want, and I'm going to have to justify the purchase, is I really want the Steelbook, which is limited, and it did sell out. And it's like, you get them pre-owned for like £40, and I have to justify that purchase just because I want it in my collection. I really want it in my collection.
So
and Graham
nice,
Humphreys
isn't it?
did the artwork as well, which is pretty cool.
It's good. I mean, it's the same artwork that's on the normal Blu-ray, but the fact that like embossed in this steel case, it looks fucking great because it's double-sided, obviously, as well, isn't it? It kind of wraps all the way around. I'm with you on that. It's one of them ones where I see it sometimes for 70, 80 quid new, and just think, I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's one of them ones like when it came out, it would have been about $19.99, and should have got it at the time.
Yeah. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, and we passed out on that one. And one day, someone will make a mistake, and I'll pick it up like I did Dawn of the Dead for reasonably cheap money. I think
doesn't know what they've got.
Yeah, I think this is probably. I mean, we're going to take a short break shortly here, and then come back and close out the episode. I think it feels fitting that we close out the prosecuted list on Zombie Flesh Eaters, which is arguably one of the best movies we've discussed thus far. So it kind of feels nice to put that full stop there, and it kind of feels awesome that the next chapter starts off with what I would argue is Fulci's best movie. Which is pretty fucking cool. It's like it's just spoiling you with the awesomeness of Fulci.
Also Arrow Blu-rays that we've got as well of those to watch.
Yeah, and I've got the Steelbook as well for that one. I made sure I locked that one quick. I was like, take that Steelbook. So we're going to take a short break just now. When we return, we're closing out episode number 13 of Doing the Nasty. We're going to be right back after this.
Well, Gary, here we are. Somehow we made it through here.
What? Where?
We're in the sequel, of course.
Sequel? What sequel?
Well, Sloppy Seconds, the movie sequel podcast. Come on, get with it.
Oh, that's right. Our podcast is exclusively about sequels, where the budget is bigger.
Well, we don't actually have a budget.
Get away from her, you bitch!
But the action's more exciting?
I don't know much about action.
Hey, you got a light?
Sure, man. Allow me, scum.
The babes are hotter?
Wait, there's babes involved?
How about some of this? So tasty and hard and firm, and it just melts in your mouth.
Do the kills get gorier and more extreme?
Kills? Did we talk about this?
Never mind. So find Sloppy Seconds, the movie sequel podcast, exclusively on the Horrorphilia Network.
Because when all other podcasts are through, we're already thinking about part 2.
And welcome back. So you've been listening to Doing the Nasty, episode number 13, where we have reviewed Tenebrae, the Werewolf and the Yeti, and finally Zombie Flesh Eaters. We have now officially finished our prosecuted list. That's it, done, gone. Finished, finito, and it's been an interesting ride. And as Andy said, what we'll do is we will come back at the end of the non-prosecuted list, and I think we'll just do a series of. I think we do it like the more I'm thinking about it now. I love these ideas that happen during podcasts because my brain just keeps playing through them. I think what we do is we make it quite interactive. So what we'll do is we will both list our top 5 favourite movies from the overall nasty list. We'll list our top 5 least favourite. We will do if we were doing a list, a definitive list of 10 movies on a Video Nasty list now, what would those movies be? And I think we also maybe open it up to listeners, so listeners can give us some questions about the Video Nasties, what we've watched, specific questions. If we've mentioned anything during the shows which you want us to go into more detail about, or if you just want to ask us stuff, we'll include that in it. And our last show, the final show of Doing the Nasty, will be just a summary of all things nasty. I can't fucking wait. Would you be down with that, Andy?
Awesome, absolutely, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So what movies do we kick off our non-prosecuted list with? What are we doing?
Right, we've got The Beyond, obviously, which, like you say, is your favourite Fulci movie. Mine is probably Zombie Flesh Eaters, but I haven't watched The Beyond in a while, so you never know. It might change. The Boogeyman. I think, has that recently been released on 88 Films?
Yes, I was actually I'm quite tempted to buy it, actually, because you can get it now for like about £8.
Yeah. Okay, and then Cannibal Terror, which probably isn't Cannibal Terror. It's probably got 9. It might not even have cannibals in it, and there's probably not much terror. So we'll see. We shall see on that. But I'm certainly looking forward to watching The Beyond again. I don't think I've watched that on Blu-ray. I'm not sure. I think I might have done, but I've not seen it for a while. So really looking forward to breaking that one out again. And I haven't seen the other two. I keep seeing that Bogeyman thing turn up in my Amazon. That, you know, if you've bought this, you might like this.
Yeah. Same.
Never heard of Cannibal Terror. I think that's the thing with this second list. There's going to be some that you've definitely heard of, and then there's going to be some where you've literally never heard of them, and probably the reason you've never heard of them is because they're shit. But don't let that put you off. You know, have a listen. There might be some gems in there, and I really hope there is. There's been a couple in the prosecuted list that I'd never heard of, and watched them. I thought, yeah, that's well worth getting. Absurd is one that I'm going to add to the collection. What was that one that we got? Don't Go in the Woods. It was just pure entertaining. There was a great release of that by 88 Films, so there's that one.
Yeah, I've still to watch because you bought me the Blue of that, and I've still to watch it. But that movie was fucking fun as fuck.
Yeah. A couple more Don't movies. We've got Don't Go in the World, Don't Go in the House, Don't Go in the Park, Don't Look in the Basement. So we've got those coming up in episode 16 and 17. So certainly worth hanging around for the non-prosecuted shows. I am looking forward to watching a few of these. This has been a bit tedious, hasn't it, some of the things? But then a show like tonight's, it kind of makes it all worth working through because, like you say, two of the best films on the list on the same episode. So it's been a pleasure to kind of sit through these three. Well, two of them at least, anyway.
I think you the nail completely on the head there. I think the issue I found with some of the prosecuted list, should I say, is that I feel that because we've done them alphabetically, we have been spoiled some weeks. I mean, had we done it differently, we could have always picked a really good movie. I think there's definitely 13 really good movies on like powerful movies or controversial movies on the prosecuted list that we could have picked one for each episode and then put the shit around it. But I kind of feel like doing it the way we have done it has been pretty cool because we've worked through it in such a way that it just so happens that some weeks it's us just scratching our heads, wondering how the fuck, these movies, one got made and two ended up on the list. But then other weeks you've been spoiled by, we had an all cannibal episode. We've had this episode. We've had episodes where at the end of it we've needed that kind of really goofy, awful movie at the end just to lighten the tone of like complete seriousness. And I think that's been cool in the non-prosecuted list. I'm like you. I'm looking forward to catching movies on that list I've never seen before, and very much like we did with Absurd, sitting here and just going, how we not fucking heard of this movie? It's fucking amazing. Yeah. Where can I buy
that's it? Because thing is, I don't think it necessarily means there's going to be any less quality in some of the films just because they're on the non-prosecuted. Because we've got to bear in mind, none of these films should have been on the... Well, hardly any of these films should have been on the list. So the fact that there's a non-prosecuted, I don't think that necessarily means a diminishing in quality. I just think it means a bunch of morons just didn't necessarily think that was any worse or more worse than, anything else. So, yeah, there could be some really good ones in there, so I'm looking forward to checking them out.
Yeah, definitely. So, we will be back in 2 weeks' time, and we will be discussing the movies that Andy mentioned. I'm really looking forward to this. I've never seen Cannibal Terror. I've never seen the Boogeyman. But I will be. I probably will when this show finishes. I'll probably buy it. And yeah, The Beyond is, like Andy said, it's my favourite Fulci movie. So we'll have plenty to discuss, and we'll be changing our grading system slightly. So it'll be the same grades of Case Dismissed, Slap on the Wrist, Community Service, and Hard Time, with the caveat that our second review rating, which should it be on the list, it now becomes, should it have been on the list? Could this movie have been in place of one of the movies on the prosecuted list? And I get the feeling that that's going to be yes for a couple of these ones, just because some of the ones on the prosecuted list are shit. I don't know why you're there. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. Remember, as always, you can check out my show, the podcast Under the Stairs, over at podcastunderthestairs.wordpress.com. You can check me out on iTunes and Stitcher Smart Radio. I'm a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network. You can check out Andy's show, The Big Horror and Little Podcast, exclusively on Legion Podcast Network. Now that you've returned from holiday, are you eyeing up a new show?
Yeah, we've actually got something different that we're thinking of doing as well. I'll tell you off air, actually. But there is something slightly different coming up, which might interest some people, but we'll announce it a bit closer to the time because we've got things to watch before we start doing that. So, we'll keep you posted.
You've been cryptic as well. I love that. I do the same when people, I'm like that. There are big things coming, and then people are like, what are the big things coming? I'm like, I'm not telling you. Puny listener.
I'll tell you in a minute.
All right, cool. So you're just going to have to keep your eyes open for what Andy's announcement is. I'm going to plug them again here. I still have some posters for the podcast Under the Stairs, designed by the wonderfully talented Graham Humphreys. If you are interested in a poster and live in the UK, it's £12.50, including postage and packaging. If you live in the States, it's $23. That includes your postage and packaging. They have been shipped all around the world so far. I've been getting loads of pictures back of people putting them up in interesting places. My favourite one at the moment, Jerry Esposito, has put his one up in his work booth. So he has all these lovely shots of Paris from his holidays, vacation, and then you turn around and you see Baz cowering in the background like a scared bitch, which is pretty awesome. So if you're interested in them, you can send an email to podcastunderthestairs@gmail.com with the subject header poster, or drop me a line on the page here, or send me a private message, and we'll see if we can hook you up with one. Andy bought one, didn't you?
It's awesome. Yeah, it's great. I'm going to put it in the gym. I just need to get it put on some kind of like card backing, sort of. I don't know what you call that when you stick it to card. I don't know. And then that's going up in my gym next to my Arnold Schwarzenegger and my Rambo paintings. So,
it's like muscles.
In good company there, Duncan.
Yeah. muscles, podcasters. I like it. Cool. It depends where we're going to be positioned. We might actually be like the werewolf and the Yeti, a shit filling in a gold-plated sandwich.
Could be.
Depends how you look at it. But yeah, so we will speak to you guys in 2 weeks' time for episode number 14, kicking off the non-prosecuted list. Thanks again for all the support. You guys have been awesome. The Facebook page has been great. If you're not over there, join the Facebook page. And we will speak to you in 2 weeks' time. Andy, would you like to say goodbye to our listeners, please?
Bye.
Bye.
Nasty.
They were called Nasties, and they were nasty.
Some of the things that we've seen are so horrific.
These films not only affect young people, but I believe they affect adults as well.
An extravaganza of gory violence capable of depraving and corrupting those who watched it.
I have never seen a video nasty. I wouldn't. I actually don't need to see what I know is in that film.